Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome to the weekly Poro Report, your one-stop shop for all things Legends of Runeterra. As always, I am Smithel with my co-host Kozer, and our guest this week is streamer and master Legends of Runeterra player Sunglasses, and he's also Kozer's current coach. So welcome to the show. Happy to have you here.
Everyone. Happy to be here. Pleasure as always to talk with Kozer. First time meeting you, Smithel, but
well, hopefully I'm not too much of a letdown. I know Kozer gonna be quite a handful.
Just play CS:GO with his friends, and don't worry, you'll understand a letdown. They just trolled me the whole time, telling me everything to do wrong. It was a good time.
It was an enjoyable experience.
Until I got kicked out for team killing someone.
Killing.
Yeah, it was good times. Good times.
Well, awesome. But yeah, so welcome to the show. I mean, you know, one of the things that we do, like, kind of to start off the show, and understanding that there's a lot to cover. I mean, it's been a definitely busy couple weeks. Riot's been putting out a lot of information, and this week is definitely no different. But before we kind of dive into that, just want to kind of go into a little bit of a week in review, see what everybody's been up to. You know, obviously Sunglasses as our guest. If you want to start, that'd be great. So how was your week? What you been doing? You still climbing the master ladder, or have you kind of taken a step back and waiting for full release here?
So yeah, I think a lot of streamers, as well as myself, have kind of taken a step back from ladder. It's gotten kind of stale as of late, as it always does before a release of new cards. You kind of start to get tired with the current set, and so I've mostly taken a step back from streaming and took a few days off, and so I'm working on some projects, on the side, Runeterra related, and those should be pretty fun to announce soon.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I know that there's definitely a need in the community for Legends of Runeterra work, and anything to come up to get people involved. So that's cool. Definitely excited to see what you're involved with. But Koz, what about you? I know it's a big week on your front.
I finally hit Masters. We did it.
Nice.
I did it with a little bit of Sunglasses help. Mostly, not a little. Mostly Sunglasses. Sunglasses basically got me from Diamond 4-0 LP to about Diamond 2-ish. He got me to Diamond 1 at one point, then we played one day and just had a really shit day. Then when I got off stream with him, I ran the Karina deck, and won 2 games, got to Diamond 1-0 LP. Then the next day I played with my homie Wind Mage, who just became a mod in the Masters Discord, and he's been helping me quite a bit. We've been playing other games together, but he helped me. We did it. We went 7-2, and I got into Master finally. Played a couple games yesterday. Played against Swim's girlfriend, and then I think 1 or 2 other guys from the Discord. They're just not very active anymore, so I couldn't remember for sure if they were from the Discord, but yeah, it was good times. Got wrecked. Won 1 game, lost 3, then said fuck the leaderboard because I just didn't find a point in playing anymore because I'm waiting for the new cards.
Yeah. Now, what kind of decks? And you may have said this, I may have just missed it as I was doing some other stuff prepping for the show. But what decks were you running? What kind of got you there? I know you did Bannerman from Plat to Diamond, but
I got rid of Bannerman. I didn't really enjoy playing Bannerman. I hated playing elusives. I kind of hate playing all those like super annoying meta decks. I played a lot of Karina with Sunglasses. That's how we basically got from like Diamond 4 to Diamond 2.
Actually, we
did switch it up
for the deck of the week or.
Yep.
We did play that quick.
We do have the actual list that you played, mostly from Diamond 4 to around.
Oh,
Diamond
awesome.
2.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, we played that. We could just name it. It's basically a variation of an Oh Shucks deck made by another podcast. And Karina, and then we played Spider Aggro. I think that was it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was Spider Aggro that basically every time I try to do a climb, I stick to about 3 different decks. And that's what I did in the other one, because I don't want to just play one deck. Like, yeah, I could have probably done Karina. I could have probably done Oh Shucks the whole time, but The difference is I want a little bit of variation, especially because I make them into YouTube videos. I've just been very lazy. I just got to sit down and do all of Bagel's videos. Then I'll upload Sunglasses videos and the last day of my climb with Wind Mage. So I just got to get it done. And that's going to be interesting. It was a good series. Sunglasses series was pretty good too. And I'll be super happy when they're all out and people get to see everything.
Yeah. The most important part, though, is you'll get that beta master icon to wear.
I was already a beta, though. Let's be real, okay?
Hey, no arguments
Definitely
yet.
think that icon is something people are gonna enjoy having. I do like little, just the things they toss, like they're dedicated players. I think people like that sort of thing.
Yeah, and plus it's kind of a good way to brag and show off, just because I'm sure there'll be a Masters icon at full release that people will sit there and strive to get and show off. But having the beta one is definitely something to be proud of. Basically saying, I was one of the first people to do this.
Oh, of course, yeah. Especially with the full release kind of picking up with more advertising. I know I recently got my first Runeterra advertisement on YouTube recently. That was a pretty exciting moment. Knowing that Riot is starting to support the game, or at least in the public eye, and hopefully we get some bigger Twitch numbers and some bigger player base numbers. Thanks to it.
I'd hope so. I mean, I fear that the Twitch numbers may not come until they really start putting some time and energy into the competitive scene and giving a drive and something for people to watch, other than just saying, hey, I like Sunglasses, I'm going to go watch his stream today. There needs to be something a little bit more spelled out, something with dedicated streamers, dedicated casters, and a good prize pool to make people really interested in bring in really creative decks. So hopefully we get that soon. But
yeah, I agree.
But as far as me, I mean, it's still been in plat. I know I said my goal was to get to plat just before the end of the season, so I hit that, which was good. But I'm wondering if I should sit here and try to do the climb for diamond. I got up to plat 2, dropped to plat 3. I may be plat 4 now, just because I've started to get a little tilted today and early in the week. The deck I was running through gold to get to plat all of a sudden kind of hit a wall. And so I've been doing a lot of play in normal and things like that, just trying to find another deck that I like and feels right, and I think I can make that climb. But elusives have just been beating me down, man. It's been rough. Yeah, it's something about them I just can't get through right now.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's sometimes the meta is kind of clogged and you don't know exactly what to play, It's very rock, paper, scissors almost in the current meta, where if you there's some decks you feel like you can't win, you queue up against them and you just lose all hope. The matchup is so bad for you that there isn't much you can do, and then it kind of makes what you bring into ladder a hard choice, because you really don't like having that control taken out of your hands. You want to go into every game thinking you have a chance.
Yeah. And like Hoser said, I know he says, he really pilots 3 decks or so. And I'm trying to get better about that. Before, I would jump decks like nobody's business. And it definitely kept me stuck. So I found a really good Teemo, what's it called? Teemo...
the fact that you just said Teemo just makes me think that you're not trying to get to the next level.
It's not focused around Teemo. It's focused more around Draven.
I have seen that deck, yeah. It's alright.
I'm assuming it's a PNZ Noxus burn deck.
Yeah, it's pretty much a Noxus aggro. Teemo's in it more or less just as a 1-drop to maybe get 5 mushrooms in, because when you run out of fuel, at least you get a little bit of chance to maybe tick off that last 1 or 2 damage that you need. So it's not really focused on him at all. But it is, he's in there, so it's a Teemo Noxus. But it did good, but then the elusives definitely just put a kind of a stop to it, because they said, hey, look, we don't have to waste spells to get rid of this Teemo. We'll just throw out like a 2/2 or something like that and take him down. So it's struggling right now for me. But hopefully I can find something, and in these last 5 days or so, make a solid push for the last 2 or 3 ranks that I need to get to make diamond. But if not, at least I achieved my goal for a somewhat casual player. And I know whenever mobile release comes, it'll be a different game because I'll be on it all the time.
Of course.
All the time. In fact, it was funny with Kozer when I was talking to him and he was making fun of me for playing Valorant. I said, look, whenever it comes out on mobile, I was like, I'll be playing both because I'm dead enough in Valorant that I'll have plenty of time to make my turns. So, but other than that, I know
Attaboy.
Hey, I know I'm not a shooter game person. But
what are you talking about? You carried me in 209 today. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, because that was a big carry. But so Koza put in another tier list of your sunglasses.
Yes, a Papega tier list. This is well, I guess if those of you don't watch Sunglasses stream, watch it. It's pretty funny. He gets really bored sometimes and does pretty silly shit. And this is probably one of them. He made an LOR Babe tier list based off the current cards in the game. These are his top 5. I'll let him talk about some of his close runner-ups. This is just for fun, guys. Don't take this to heart. If you guys want to comment on it and give your opinions, go right ahead. If you want to disagree with Sunglasses.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, jump in.
Yeah, so before people, scream, why only women? Or, we did actually do a Chad tier list directly afterwards. However, it was much less popular for a number of reasons.
Oh, why would that be? Okay. You don't want to go into it. Okay.
But essentially, how the tier list worked, it's not exactly a tier list as much as a competition. We essentially separated it by region. So we went through Demacia first, and then Freljord, and so on, and kind of had the Miss Freljord pageant, the Miss Demacia pageant, in a sense. And my Discord essentially voted in polls. Quite a lot of people joined in. We had around I believe 50 or so people in chat, and so I think it's safe to say that the list is pretty concrete. And we eventually found Scar Maiden for Freljord to be the hottest babe. As well, from PNZ, we had Astute Academic and Elise from SI.
I need to pull these up on screen. I'm gonna pull these up on screen. Give me a sec.
Yeah. Lux from Demacia, Katarina from Noxus, and Solitary Monk beating out Karma for Ionia. And once all of these were, collected, we threw them all in a 6-person poll, and Solitary Monk took it, followed up by Katarina, Lux.
Wait, Star Maiden?
Tied. Yeah,
really?
Star Maiden.
There's really not that many hot babes in Freljord, is there?
You do kind of have to view the full art to really appreciate some of the other sides of it.
Oh, okay. Understood now. Yes. Understood. Okay.
Quite the detail. But yes, I'm kind of disappointed Lux didn't score a bit higher here, though pretty happy overall with the poll. Everybody seemed to think Solitary Monk was a shoo-in for number 1.
Elise? Huh?
Yes. Not PNC or Noxus. SI did not have very many babes to choose from. Elise kind of
yeah,
stole it.
I guess.
Quite a few Elise Simpson chat.
Yikes. Okay. Hey man, to each their own. To each their own.
A lot of looting Kuma fans.
Oh, I wish I could post that on the screen, but he had music in the background. I don't know if I showed you that. It was pretty funny. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I showed Smithel. So Luden Kuma did a cosplay where he basically just bought this janky ass spider cosplay, and it was so bad that it was good. It was amazing.
Well known that Luden thinks Elise is the highest tier waifu. Terra. But yeah, the tier list I think was a big success, and I'll probably either do a new set or possibly redo the entire thing after the new set is released. But I did want to get set one out of the way and kind of see what people's thoughts were on the subject because it was clearly important. But yeah, it was a fun stream.
I can imagine that once there's a new tier list or once the cards, is really MF going to lose to anything?
Ooh, I mean that's a difficult choice. We'll have to see. I did this based solely off of Runeterra art. So
yeah, okay. Because she's been like basically between her and Ari, like they're like number one waifus from LOL.
you don't think Evelyn will give her a run for the money?
Oh, maybe that's
she's
true.
like just a shadow demon that.
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
Evelyn is really fucked up.
Evelyn's SI, right? Evelyn would be Shadow Isles? No?
Void, isn't she? Yeah.
Void, okay. Oh, yes.
Because she's not really like a she. She's just like a shadow demon that takes the form of a sexy woman to try to lure people in to kill them.
Sounds like something Smith reads at nighttime before bed.
Okay, so I could go back there and pull out my League of Legends.
Oh no!
But if you actually go into like some of the champion stories, Riot does a pretty good job at fleshing them out. Like there's a lot of really cool ones, and the Evelyn one is definitely interesting. Yeah, quite a bit. But anyway, so
talking about lore.
Speaking of lore, yeah. So the different lore is there's been a lot of news this week. Obviously. They are continuing to kind of drip feed us the new champs and card reveals and everything that's coming next week, which it's kind of weird to say that we're already this close to the full release.
It's like Christmas.
I know. It feels real good. I'm definitely excited. So there's going to be two that we're talking about here. We'll start with the oldest and we'll finish on the champ that was just revealed today, but a little bit earlier since the last show. Vi was announced as the PNZ new champ, along with some other cards. So Vi, we'll go into thoughts about her in a little bit. But basically, PNZ, she's a 2/5 unit for 5 mana with Tough and Challenger, which a 5 health Tough unit is pretty
technically 6 health.
Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting. But basically, she has text that says, "While I'm in player in hand, grant me +1/+0 when you play another card," and it maxes out at +8/+0. So basically, when you play her or while she's on the board, she can go up to being a 10/5 unit with Tough and Challenger. And basically, when leveled up, she becomes a 10/6 unit with Challenger and Tough, with the text that reads, "When I strike a unit while attacking, deal 5 damage to the enemy nexus." So, Sunglasses, what are your thoughts on Vi as a whole?
So Vi is I think one thing to speaking about any champion, you should focus more on their non-leveled up condition or like their non-leveled form a lot more than their leveled form. And in Vi's case, she's extremely powerful. It's really easy to play 3 cards and get her up to a 5 mana 5/5 stat line very quickly. And I think the fact that she has Tough makes her one of the strongest 5-drops in the game from a pure stat line wise. And the fact that she does have that hook means she makes cards like Garen seem almost unplayable if Vi does see play in the meta. Your opponent especially can't drop Garen against her and other big 5-cost units. Even something like Thresh suddenly becomes a much worse Vi, wherein he can't really be played against her, and she just serves a lot of utility and gives maybe PNZ more of a mid-range option going forward just from her existing. She's very strong.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely looked into it that way too. I mean, whenever you understand cards that kind of would be good into what she plays into, I was thinking things like Braum, things that are basically meant to stay on board or generate their health, and Garen, obviously. And I like that about her, of saying decks are definitely going to have to start thinking, should she become meta, ways to continuously deal with that increased power. So if she becomes meta, I expect to see a lot of Frostbite, a lot of that coming out. I don't know if the new region's going to have anything that affects power levels at all. But even if you take her power out of it, I mean, just a 5 unit with Tough is so tough to deal with right now. That it's going to just take tons of mana resources just to get her off the board. So I'm hoping she becomes, viable in whatever's to come.
I think she's a very well-designed card. She's like a good mid-range unit that she has some upside where, if you do end up keeping her around long enough or, play some interesting buffs to kind of meet that level up condition, you do get that extra push where like now you can deal with your opponent's board and get some extra damage into the Nexus with her level up, which is definitely an interesting afterthought, though. I think the primary thing to focus on is her strong stats, the hook, and the fact that she is tough.
Yeah, I was also sitting there thinking about how she would play into decks like with what's that new keyword? Is it Scout? That's basically rally and steroids. What is it, Quinn? Like, because I'm sitting there saying, okay, when she's leveled up, if she strikes for 10 or more or whatever, and she's dealing 5 damage to Nexus, and you can essentially just a back-to-back attack. You're getting what, 10 damage on one turn potentially.
It would require you to give Scout to Vi in some way. I don't know if we'll see a card like that because Scout does specify that only the Scout units get to do that first attack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, in combination with cards like Rally, I can definitely see Vi definitely hitting pretty hard. Maybe we'll see some PNZ Demacia, like Lucian Vi decks or something. I could definitely see that. Vi is just such a strong mid-range tool. She could also be even considered as the top end for a Demacian aggro deck. I know the Lucian aggro decks that we're seeing in the meta played Swiftwing Lancer as a top end, and Vi could easily slot in there as a better replacement for that card.
Interesting.
And thinking about it now, I could see Vi maybe making it onto your babe's tier list. So that's going to be interesting to see where she falls as well.
The most important part of her. Anyway, so the other PNZ cards, these are I'm a little less excited about. We have Vault Breaker, 3-mana spell, give an ally +2/+0 this round and create a fleeting Vault Breaker in hand.
Why aren't you happy about that? I'm kind of confused.
Just as a whole, they just don't excite me as well. And I guess when we take a look at them, we can sit there and talk about them.
Drop some choice words for some of these cards.
But so I mean, that's nice. It's a nice what's it called, burst spell. But like I know Kozu, so I mean it's 3 mana in my opinion, +2/+0 for 3 mana, and then if you get a fleeting one, you're paying what, 6 mana for +4 attack. I mean that's to me at least a pretty significant mana resource. For +4 that I don't know if necessarily is big in my book. And again, I'm a lowly scrub player compared to you two, so maybe I'm completely off base. But it just to me didn't seem that exciting. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts about that before we go forward. I don't want to stop. I just want to say because what's it called? Kozer asked why I wasn't too thrilled with that.
Yeah, I think Vault Breaker is an interesting card. It is Vi's champion card from what I know, which does give it some more interesting potential, seeing as it does synergize with her.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I'm thinking it's good.
+3 attack. I don't think this card will see play in the meta at all, but I think it's definitely an interesting card just off of Vi to consider, just because it is a proactive card. So if you're playing something like an aggro deck with Vi Vi, or even just a mid-range deck, just the potential of having Vi on board, giving your opponent like, well, now I have to consider Vault Breaker as a card that they could have, kind of in a similar sense where if your opponent has Garrett on board, even though most of the Demacia decks don't play Judgment, you have to consider Judgment an option and play around it. And Vault Breaker represents a lot of damage. With a lot of if you do have a lot of mana to represent it, so I like its existence in the game as Vi's champion card.
Yeah, as her champion card, I don't hate. Hate's a strong word. I don't dislike it as much, but if I'm building cards in deck, I feel like putting 3 copies of this in versus 3 copies of other options in PNZ. Just doesn't excite
It's
me
a
as
hard
much.
sell.
But yeah, sure. If I buy them both and I draw another one and I get this card, sure, that's great.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, I didn't think it's going to be splashed into decks so you could possibly have 6 of them. Well, not 6, but 5. So, no, that was the only reason why I was like, why did you hate this card?
Yeah.
Gotcha!
Other cards gotcha. Yeah, four mana, when drawn, costs 2 less this round only. Deal 3 damage to a unit. So essentially, it's a 2 or 4 mana card that deals 3 damage to a unit. I'll keep kind of pushing through, and then we'll kind of circle back and talk about all these. Next card that they announced for PNZ is the Veteran Investigator. And basically, when summoned, all players draw 1, and it's a 2 mana, 3/2 unit. We also have the Insightful Investigator, so it looks like a kind of an investigator theme going on here. It's a 4 mana, 3/3 unit. When you play a 2-cost card, draw 1 fleeting. And then Patrol Wardens is the final PNZ card that they leaked, and it is a 3 mana, 4/3. When drawn, I cost 1 less this round. So Sunglasses, you said you have a lot to talk about in regards to this set of cards.
Yeah, so not so much the investigators. I'm actually a big fan of Veteran Investigator, the 2 mana 3/2.
That's the one I like the most.
I think they're enjoyable, especially symmetrical draw. It exists in games I've played before, like Magic the Gathering, and they've always been good effects in control decks. So I can see something like Veteran Investigator. It's an early drop that a control deck can play, and it doesn't sacrifice a slot because it does draw them into more of their control tools.
I feel the same way. I mean, I like card draws, and plus it passes the vanilla test. Is that what it's called? Where it's you take the mana cost, double it, and that should be a thing. So I mean, it passes that test, and you get a card draw. So I like that card.
Yeah, it's very similar to Shadow Assassin, but it's more aggressively statted, so it trades a lot better than so whereas Shadow Assassin's more of a poke tool, Veteran Investigator trades a lot better.
And it's also 1 mana cost earlier too, which is helpful.
Yes, very true. Insightful Investigator, the 4 mana 3/3, definitely a very hot card as far as art goes, but as the stat line and mana cost, I'm not that huge of a fan of it. It could see some play, maybe in the future, but I don't think the cycling cards game plan that Investigator allows you to go down doesn't have the cards to support it. I think currently, we have to see a lot more.
And let me ask us. So I assume when it says draw 1 fleeting, and essentially it's taking a card out of your deck and giving it the fleeting keyword.
Yes.
And to me, I'm like, I don't know if I want that. Like, I don't want to be getting rid of my cards or playing them when I don't feel like I have to, or isn't the optimal time. I mean, this card, maybe there'll be something that makes it work, but to me, I was like, I just don't feel good about that. It would almost make me want to not play 2-cost cards.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you figure what
definitely wants you to use her as an engine to draw a lot of cards and play them all in one turn.
But even to play them in one turn, you'd be looking at it's 4 to get her down. So then you'd have to play a 2-cost card to get it to basically pop off. So you're looking at 6 mana, and then maybe at most 8 mana if you got a whole bunch of 2 costs.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I feel like that's an expensive buy-in just to basically keep getting fleeting cards.
Yeah, there is a bit of a paradox revolving around cards like this, where if they're good enough, your opponent hard targets them and they become a lot worse. But if they're not good enough, well, then you probably shouldn't be playing them. And so it's kind of like Gadget's an Auctioneer in a sense, but Gadget's in a game like Hearthstone where he's a lot easier to protect or utilize when things like stealth and whatnot than Investigator is, especially with the lack of defensive options that PNZ has. I don't expect her to see much play. Moving on to these next 2 cards, though, Patrol Wardens and Gotcha. I'm very much not a big fan of these cards. As a competitive player, one of the most important skills you can have is knowing what to play around. And so, if you're playing against PNZ and Gotcha happens to be a meta card, I'll propose a situation where you want to drop Karma, right? Your opponent spent most of their mana, and you can safely assume you can drop Karma. She's out of Mystic Shot range, she's out of Thermo Beam range, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just because Gotcha
Gotcha,
exists,
bitch.
if your opponent only has 2 mana, you play that Karma and you get Gotcha'd, even though the odds were definitely in your favor that they hadn't drawn Gotcha that turn.
Yep.
And playing Karma was probably the correct play based on that knowledge. You get punished for it, for essentially making the right decision.
Yep.
Which I think is kind of a feels bad thing, scenarios like that, where I think Gotcha's going to create more unhealthy interactions than it's going to make good ones.
I could agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
And yeah, I'm not as same thing with Patrol Wardens. It's a card you don't keep in your mulligan, and my opponent happened to draw Patrol Wardens on turn 2, which was a 1 in 11 chance or something.
Yep.
Or it might even be like 1 in 12 or 1 in I think it's 1 in 12.
Yeah, because it'd be 46 cards.
Your opponent essentially getting lucky and getting to play this. It's going to lead to a lot of situations where you're like, well, I would have won that game if they hadn't, done the 1 in 12 and drawn Patrol Wardens on turn 2, stuff like that. So yeah, overall, I'm not a fan of these RNG style effects. I don't think most competitive card game players are a fan of them. They exist in games like Magic the Gathering, but in that game you have a lot more control over what you draw and when you draw it, that it kind of becomes more of a skilled part of the game, whereas in Runeterra you can't, and it's more or less just luck.
Yeah. Because what about your thoughts? How you feel on PNZ as a whole? It's going to make you go and play them?
I'm happy about Vi, but as for some of the other cards, like, I basically have the same opinion as Sunglasses, to be honest, just not to mirror him on purpose, but yeah, that's kind of like my exact same sentiments on it. I think there's some interesting cards that they're adding, but do I think it's going to shake up what Piltover has already been doing? Not really. It's a very good deck at being basically a splash deck, and all of the removal spells in it's just already a strong deck. So I'm glad they didn't add too much more stuff that pops off Ezreal harder. So I am happy about that. But I'm happy for Vi. Let's say this is gonna make my boy Earl very, very happy. He loves anything to do with aggro, and he can definitely make some form of aggro deck with Vi. He'll probably throw, I'm just thinking right now, Vi, Mobilize, and Rally. That's basically what I'm thinking of right now from him. We do have a question, and since it's still talking about PNZ, I'm gonna... What's up, Whale? Do you guys think the new PNZ cards make Teemo more competitive? Not really. I mean, Vault Breaker maybe, but you're really not gonna run that?
Yeah. Teemo's issues are mostly in that he's a 1-drop. He's very good in the early game, but your opponent can easily remove it.
Which I'm okay with.
I think it's a good thing that Teemo isn't
broken.
A turn 1 win the game, right?
Yeah.
But I think in order for these PNZ cards don't really fix Teemo's drawbacks. However, cards maybe like Veteran Investigator, maybe a 2-mana 3/2 that draws a card is what the Mushroom deck needs, and he could become more viable through that. Or maybe even Insightful Investigator has some deck that someone cobbles together, and But I don't think any of these cards directly help Teemo. In order for Teemo to be better in the meta, it kind of just depends on what cards can support, like a Mushroom deck, or a deck that has him in it. And possibly we might see that. But as far as the PNZ cards go, I don't think they directly help him that much.
Agreed. Any final thoughts on PNZ before we kind of move forward to today's announcement?
Nah, I want to talk about the ninja. Let's move on.
Okay.
Yeah, let's
So,
talk about it.
so today, obviously, they did release a champion. It's going to be Ion. It's Lee Sin. But before we talk about Lee Sin, because I know we're going to deep into those cards, on the video today that they released, there was a little bit of a teaser. If you look closely,
We
for
can
some
watch the
cards.
video. If you, say what's on it. I don't mind putting up the video.
Yeah,
and
just,
turning
you
it on.
can let it run in the background. We'll talk while it runs. But if you look at it, the decks that they're playing as they're playing the cards, they actually have different card backs. And so we know in previous patch notes and developer notes and all that kind of stuff, they talk about how more cosmetics are incoming and card backs. But you actually see there's actually a Freljord and Ionia, and I think there's a Noxus one somewhere as well. But you can kind of see and say, oh, okay, look, so at least there's more cosmetics that are coming. So while it's not the main announcement that we're going to be talking about and everything like that, it is kind of nice to see that maybe when full release comes, we'll get a couple cosmetic options for people that like to spend money and support the developers in that way. But the big announcement, obviously, Lee Sin. Granted, I have not had a ton of time to look into all these cards as much as I have the PN. But we are going to run through them. So Lee Sin, Ionia, 6-mana, 3/6 unit. He has kind of a cool condition on the card where when you cast a spell, you give him Challenger for the round. And then when you cast another spell, he also gets Barrier. And when he levels up is whenever you cast 7 or more spells in the game. So basically you can pre-flip him or flip him on board, whatever you want to do. He becomes a 6-mana, 4/7 with the same cast conditions. But what's kind of cool is he also gets text that says, I Dragon Rage enemies that I challenge, which is essentially Lee Sin if you play him in Legends of or League of Legends.
There
It's
you
kind
go.
of his ult. But basically, he kicks the unit at the enemy nexus, causing them to deal damage equal to the unit's power level. If I'm looking at the video correctly, which is awesome. Like I really love that mechanic.
I literally took it down from the video. Like, I stopped the video right when you said that. So,
Yeah, I'm really excited for Lee Sin. I think it's a cool card.
Yeah, I think he's very interesting. He definitely has that a cool mechanic which allows you to gain kind of value out of your spells.
Mhm.
So I definitely like cards like he's kind of similar to Ezreal where he has a on cast a spell trigger, right?
Mhm.
Whereas Lee Sin, his is kind of different. One of the cool things you can do with him is actually give him a barrier at fast speed, which is something we haven't seen before. So something that's interesting is like for example in Demacia, you give your unit barrier and then your opponent casts like a mystic shot to pop it.
Yep.
You can't play another barrier card from your hand, right? Because it's burst speed and it won't help.
Yep.
Whereas Lee Sin, he kind of gets around that, and he can do some interesting things, like give himself barrier, again, right? Which I think is kind of cool. I'm not sure if his effect can trigger multiple times if you can give him multiple barriers in one turn, but that would also definitely be interesting.
I doubt it, because then after you give him a barrier, or after you give him Challenger and Barrier, I don't think it does anything else.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
Most
say.
likely not.
It just says cast another one. Like
Yeah.
I can see it going either way. Like I'm excited to see because that would be kind of cool. It's like let's say you give him Challenger and you have a whole bunch of burst spells in your hand, and they just said, okay, I'm gonna hit it with like damage or something, just to pre-clear it so I can take him off the board, and you just burst, give him another spell, and basically keep barrier on him almost infinitely as long as you have burst in your hand.
Yeah,
Or speed. It would be fast. You would do fast spells.
Does it say it has to be a fast?
Well, no.
No.
So if your opponent puts like a mystic shot on the stack, you would need to. You can't. Giving a barrier to a unit that already has barrier doesn't help. What you would need is to essentially stack fast spells.
But your fast spell, even if you did it fast, it would be so like okay, has barrier. They play mystic shot. Even if you have another fast spell, it's gonna still be in front of the mystic shot, right?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, what you'd want to do is give it. So what you would want to do is give it. So you would attack with it not having barrier.
Okay.
Cast a fast spell that would give it barrier.
Gotcha.
And then your opponent plays a fast spell to respond to that and essentially, do something. But
we won't know until it releases whether that's
the card
how the
definitely
mechanic.
just has some interesting utility.
Yeah. I like his champion card, or not his champion card. I like the card that he gives off Dragon Rage if you have another one. The interesting thing about Dragon Rage too, though, is if the enemy survives, recall it. So also if they find a way to save the unit, like I'm assuming this means put a barrier on it, do something, the unit won't die. As far as I understand, it will still be kicked at the Nexus, and then it will recall the unit. So that can also set up for some cheeky plays as well, unless I'm not understanding that properly. I don't know.
Dragon's Rage is probably my favorite card out of these because it's essentially it's Ionia's best removal spell, as it is also, or maybe not best. Will of Ionia is probably still taking that slot, but it's a very good removal spell. And in my eyes, it's kind of a better atrocity.
Yeah.
As I read the card, it says an ally strikes an enemy and their Nexus. So I'm assuming, if you have like a 6 power unit, you can go ahead and do 7 mana, just deal 6 to their face. And so it gives Ionia decks reach as well as removal tool, which is very interesting. You essentially don't have the downside of atrocity where you kill your unit, but you get twice the upside where you get to kill an enemy unit and hit their Nexus for damage, which I think makes this card like almost a consideration to play in decks. We might actually see it despite its slow speed.
Yeah, the only things I can really deny it are obviously deny, and then the unit, an ally strikes an enemy and their Nexus. Would this cancel the card if your allied unit gets recalled?
Yes, or if
more
it
than
dies
likely
to a vengeance or something. Yeah, of course. So there's definitely ways to play around this. Atrocity does have the upside where you can play it in response to your unit getting removed to kind of get that 1-for-1 value, but
this card's a fast. It would be broken.
Oh yes,
don't you think? Like, yeah, it would be completely busted.
But you don't actually need to get that extra value out of removing your like essentially countering your opponent's spell, because this doesn't require you to kill your creature at all. It's essentially like a whirling death that can work outside of combat, but then also hit their Nexus.
Crazy,
which I think is extremely strong.
Crazy made a good point in the actual chat. He said, I forgot the name, but the Noxus double damage to Nexus card, Shiraza, right? Does it work with it?
To my knowledge, yes. Since it specifies strikes, Shiraza would just be able to strike the Nexus by playing that card.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be cool.
Very, very interesting.
Dude, there's going to be so much meta shift. I love it. Love it. So great.
It gives kind of more of a combo. Because now you don't have to play... if you think about it, when you play Shiraza, you kind of have to play bad cards like Ghost or... play Might on her to kind of get that damage through. And then your opponent can still block in certain cases if they have elusives or if they have a high health unit to block with. Whereas Dragon's Rage is just a good card in your deck. You can play 3 Dragon's Rage and it's just a fine card to play. And it's just upside if you can play your Shiraza Twin Disciplines her and Dragon's Rage for 12 damage face or something.
Yeah, I guess the only downside to the card is just the mana cost, but you also got to understand it has to be expensive. If it was a cheap card, it would be like, I don't know, this is 2 mana cost. I could only imagine how much more broke it would be. It's a good card. I wouldn't call it broken. I would say that it's going to be a healthy change. It does have ways to interact with the card, and there's lots of ways around getting it, like, not being able to use the card. So, I like it. I think it's interesting, but we should probably move on to the next stuff. Yes.
Yeah, so sorry about that. I had to go take care of some stuff. But so the other Ionia cards. So they did release quite a bit. And what I kind of like about a lot of these, which is neat, and it seems like they have a theme of tying back to how Lee Sin plays in League too. So basically, if you don't play League Sin or Lee Sin in League, essentially every one of his abilities has like a secondary ability to it, where you hit your Q once, you have a limited time frame, you hit it again. So a lot of these cards you'll see as we get through them, it'll say something like play this and then get a fleeting X in return, or get a fleeting something. So you kind of get two cards with one for many of these, which is kind of cool. So the first one obviously is Claws of the Dragon. It's a 2-mana 3/2 unit that basically says summon me from hand once you've played 2 spells this round. It's a cool card in my opinion. I like cards that you get free play out as long as you're meeting other conditions. So this is personally one that I'm kind of excited about.
Definitely this card in comparison to the 3-mana 4/3 P&Z card that reduces its cost when you draw it. I'm much more of a fan of cards like this where they just have a set card, like there's no RNG involved. But you still get to have that reduced cost, and I think this definitely plays into Ionia very well, where Ionia can lose tempo by playing spells, but Claws of the Dragon is a card that lets them try and regain that tempo on the board. Which is very interesting.
Yeah.
As well as it has synergy with burst speed. So if there's that scrap card, the 1-mana burst speed 1/1, that you can play after your opponent has attack to block.
Jury rig.
Yeah, jury rig. So playing 2 burst spells from your hand, or let's say you Will of Ionia before they attack, then they attack, and then you play like a Twin Disciplines on one of your units to bump its health up and block. Your Claws of the Dragon is going to come out of your hand and be ready to block right then and there. Which I think is a very interesting, it fits the ninja style that they're going for. Where you can sneak this card into different situations.
Yep. Like it a lot. Next card, and again, we'll kind of run through these, and I just wanted to stop on that one just because I know I personally was excited about it. But we'll run through them, kind of get a general consensus after that. But next card, Sonic Wave, 2-mana burst spell. Give ally challenger this round. Create a fleeting resonating strike in hand. And so the resonating strike is a 1-mana. Give an ally +2/+0 this round. We got Retreat. It's a 2-mana fast card. It's recall an ally to create a fleeting return in hand. And the return card is a 1-mana summon an ally that costs 3 or less from hand. So again, we're seeing this pattern of play a card, get a card, play a card, get a card. And then
Concussive Palm.
Concussive Palm.
There you go.
Is a 4-mana stun an enemy to summon a Tail of the Dragon. And the Tail of the Dragon's a 3-mana 3/2 unit that he says, when I'm recalled, transform me back into concussive. Oh, God.
Concussive.
I'm never going to say this word. Concussive Palm.
It's all good.
Palm. And then finally, Scales of the Dragon. It's a 3-mana 4/2 unit. One summon, create a Dragon's Protection in hand. And the Dragon's Protection is a 2-minute slow spell. Grant an ally +0/+3.
First question. Is there any cards that don't make some other card pop out with this Lee Sin release? Because I'm pretty sure there's like maybe one or two.
I mean,
I like it. It's cool.
Yeah, the closest I think would be the Claws of the Dragon we talked about. That's not like a get one in your hand. It's more or less just if you play, this comes. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a very combo heavy kind of release here.
Yeah, I think he definitely all of his support cards in the theme are very cool. They kind of give value to some of those dorkier recall cards we've seen, like 1-mana recall. They don't really have much use because it's essentially a tempo loss. You get extra value off of like the card's play effect. But it's definitely a lot more interesting on cards like Tail of the Dragon, where you can play that new card Sonic Wave and or not Sonic Wave, Retreat, and recall this Tail of the Dragon. And now you have a Concussive Palm and you can play and do some interesting things. And it allows you to have a lot of versatility where your units are not only just units, but spells and effects that you can use, which I think is very interesting.
Mhm.
Whether or not they see play is up for contention, since concussive palm is it is a fast stun, so it's a bit different than Arachnoid Sentry, but Arachnoid Sentry definitely has upside over Tail of the Dragon from a mana cost standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of going back to the P and Z card, I mean, I like Sonic Wave and the Resonating Strike kind of combo. When we're sitting there saying about giving somebody a +2 for 3 mana, essentially is the all-in cost. I like this much more than, let's say, like Vault Break, that we talked about before, where it's like, hey, look, you're getting +2/+0, but you're getting a fleeting Vault Breaker, which is okay, sure, that's great for another 3, but I'd almost rather just be all in for 3 mana instead of potentially 6, and then be able to play out more in my hand or play more of these combo cards along the line with it. Plus, be able to give somebody a challenger. It's to me, I like that, the way that feels a lot more.
It does let you have more of a flexible attack where you can give challenger to your big unit that already has quite a lot of attack, and then maybe put that other damage elsewhere, or use it in response to your opponent buffing or something. You can kind of hold it to represent this 2 damage on any of the units they block with, and since they know that you have it, it can affect their blocks in a negative way for them. But yeah, I think these cards are interesting. I think they might be a little overcosted. I feel like Sonic Wave could possibly be 2 mana or like 1 mana.
Yeah, 1/1.
And Resonating Strike could be 1 mana, or maybe if these cards they generated were 0 mana.
Yeah, that'd be cool too.
I definitely think they have their place. They can find a deck to fit in, and they're definitely interesting enough cards to see.
Play around them, like they're not completely useless right now just from being released. Like some of these might even help and play into some weird shit with Ezreal. I could definitely see this splashed in some new Yasuo deck for the Ultimate Ninja Weeb deck. You'll see someone just fooling around and putting all 3 ninjas together just because they can. And calling it the Ultimate Ninja deck, even though knowing it won't be good because you only have a lower chance when you have 2 champs in each deck. I think we've come to that consensus. If you're not running 3 of a champion, it's just kind of weird. I think there's only one control deck that it really works in to run 2 of or 1 of Tryndamere. I think it's 1 of Tryndamere, right?
Yeah, you don't really need 3 Tryns, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so typically see like a 3-2-1.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what these changes are going to bring, and another ninja to the game. Weave it up. It's going to be a good time. But I do worry that some of the cards are going to kind of just not be used that much because of what they say on it. Like some of them are slow spells. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. We'll see what people make out of it. Basically all these cards, what's going to be really nice about them is just seeing all the meta shift. I don't even care if some of these cards are bad. It's just going to be a new meta all over the place. This is like these cards that they add here. Like I'm expecting to see a Yasuo deck that's like tier 1.5 now because there's already a Yasuo deck that's actually starting to climb up, but with Sejuani coming in, I worry a little bit about how strong Freljord's going to be. Some people might not mirror my opinion that I think Sejuani's really, really strong, but I
think it's...
I think some of the supporting cards that come with her as well. Overwhelm, I think there was like, 1 or 2 units that had Overwhelm, and Overwhelm is just kind of... I've even seen... Sunglass has been playing with it quite a bit before he kind of just stopped streaming some LOR this week because he's just waiting for the new release. And Overwhelm is... It's scary to play against if you can protect the unit or stop it from being removed off the board. And it can get you some really shiesty, easy wins that you had no right of winning in the first place. So I worry about that with Freljord because Freljord can literally freeze everything too.
And we still don't even know what the card is that summons that. What is it, Stormclaw Irvine or whatever?
Yeah. I remember about that. Yeah, we never figured it out, and I don't think anyone's figured it out. So we'll find out on release.
Yeah.
We still have what? I think someone did the math in Masters Discord. I think there's still 93 cards that we're missing.
Yeah. It's kind of
There's
ridiculous.
quite a bit.
I think
Well,
they
you
could
figure.
dumping a few more cards per day.
Crazy wants to know when your next stream is, Sunglasses. When are you going to go live? On Tuesday? Monday?
Most likely this Friday.
Okay.
We'll probably do some interesting stuff. I'll stream tomorrow. Mostly trying to do... I find regular ladder to just kind of be repetitive because I've played it so much. So we'll probably do some more interesting stuff on stream. Still Runeterra related, but who knows?
Coaching Kozer to Masters on his Smurf account?
You should be able to get there yourself now. Man.
No, I know. I'm just playing.
You know all the secrets, huh?
I think, on the topic of that, I think most people who are Diamond are capable of getting Masters. I don't think there's that much different in skill, as well as, like, through the other ranks. It's just like a learning process. Not too much difference.
Yeah. For me, it was mostly rage. That's like literally that's 90% of my life. No, if I'm being honest, like all jokes aside, when I have someone there, that's why Windmage didn't really like when you guys watch a YouTube video. Windmage didn't really coach me. We talked through the plays, and he made me realize some ones that I might make that might be a little stupid. That he just gave me his advice, but like at the same time, we just played the game. Having someone in there when I did lose the 2 games back to back, like instead of throwing my water bottle across the room and breaking my wall or my bottle even more than it already is, I was not able to, like, I don't tilt as much when I have someone to chill with. I still get angry. Right. I mean, everyone gets a little mad, but you can't get as mad as I'm getting playing this game. Because, yes, you will not climb. Smithel is right. Smithel's kind of hard stuck right now. Honestly, I should probably just sit there a couple of days and just watch his gameplay and help him out. If that's something that he wants to do, we'll talk about it after the show. And just, it's going to help him get through it because he might just be making minor misplays that are literally keeping him out from plat to diamond. That's what I was doing. It was all me. It's no one else's fault. It's not RNG. I'm sorry. I'll be honest with you. It's a little bit RNG. You have to get a little luck. No. A little luck.
I know I'm at where I'm at. I am. That's I'm stopping playing the deck that I was getting tilted on, and I said I just want to play just to start to try to learn how to pilot another deck. I said if I'm going to make a run for it in the last like 5 days or so that we have to get to the diamond, I want to find a deck that I can pilot well, like the back of my hand, like I was doing with my Teemo Noxus deck, and then really put it into action. So that's where I'm at now, just trying to discover what's that next deck that feels good. But, and also still talking about, cards and how many are left to come. We still know we have another region that's coming before full release.
Very true.
How many cards are typically in a region? We're looking at,
probably about 93. That sounds about right. Maybe at least 80.
Because we've gone through now with Ionia. We're not missing any current regions, are we?
Hell no. No. We did Demacia, Ionia, everything.
We got them all. Yeah. So, I mean, the next announcement you'd assume is going to be, we know what the new region is.
Yeah.
Crazy just did math.
Yeah. Like, there's 5 more days until the cards are released into the game. And so that's 5 days to release 90 plus cards. So we should be seeing
87 to be exact. Yeah, that's what someone in chat just said.
Roughly 15 cards plus every day. Around 15 to 18 cards.
And they said there'll be a slow leak between now and the 27th. So, I mean, my guess is on the 27th we'll have all of them.
I think they'll release the champion on the 27th, and I have a feeling they're going to be showing the spotlight and a couple of other things in the next couple of days, because there's still some time. Like, I hope they don't do a weird lull like they did with Lee Sin. I think they just had their timing incorrect, and they realized that they released the character videos maybe a day early, and then by the time they got to Lee Sin, they were like, oh crap, we're not ready for this. We're a day early. What the heck? And then they just delayed everything and then got everyone pissed off. Or it's just Riot doing Riot things and just making more suspense because they can do shit like that.
Well, I also, and this is me again, theocrafting here, but they released the video before the Lee Sin and it had a Akali in it. And so my thought was they intentionally held out the Lee Sin because they showed the Akali video and everybody goes, oh my god, that's the new champion. That's the one that's coming in.
It wasn't.
It kind of, yeah, and it kind of gave them a little bit of extra hype that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So I'm under the impression that they fully know what they're doing in releasing him today.
Riot, knowing what they're doing, have been one of the
Yeah,
most popular MOBAs for 10 years, something like that.
I think they definitely should take more. I'm not a very big fan of Hearthstone as a game, but from a marketing standpoint, you really do have to appreciate what they've done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think LOR should definitely take notes from them. And I think it's not hard to just copy what they did.
Yep.
I know a lot of people. One of the few times I've been on the LOR Reddit, it was to see the first card reveal that we were getting, and a lot of the feedback in that one post was like, I wish they would reveal these, like I hope they reveal it like Hearthstone with consistent card reveals like every single day, leading up to maybe a reveal stream or something. And I think without something like a reveal stream, it doesn't make too much sense to hold off all these cards towards the end. If you're just going to dump them anyway, unless you're doing some kind of special event, like bringing someone like, Kibler on to talk about the new LOR cards or something and show them off in game, then
They might. Who knows? It's hard to say. They're
possible. Yeah,
they are.
They would advertise it by now. That's one of the things.
Yeah.
Hearthstone, when they have those reveal streams, they make sure that you know about it. But I'm very confident that LOR isn't doing something like that, and we're just going to get a Twitter dump towards the end, which is kind of disappointing. They're not doing anything special with it, despite definitely having the funds to, and the ability. But yeah.
Yeah, I hope they make some changes. I 100% agree with you on that, with the way that they market the game and just overall advertisement. Because like right now, every time I jump on something on mobile, if I go on Twitch and watch a stream, I get ads because I don't use an ad blocker on my phone when I'm watching streams, and almost all of the ads that I get are always TFT related. I don't even have TFT downloaded on my phone anymore. I uninstalled it a couple of weeks ago. So I just hope they do more stuff like that with LOR, because I do worry, we still don't have a commercial really for it, but I guess it makes sense because the full game hasn't been released yet, where TFT was in the same boat until they released on mobile. Once they released on mobile, then they made a big deal out of it, and that's why you're seeing commercials about it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, that's the dream, right? The game gets released, suddenly LOR is like, oh, now we know what advertisements are, and then suddenly the game blows up. And I think a big thing is, if you don't know what bounties are, it's a Twitch partner program, and essentially even League of Legends still has bounties, where essentially a streamer can just get money for playing that game, right? And TFT has posts up on there all the time. League of Legends does all the time, but nothing for LOR. And Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering Arena, tons of bounties all the time. And so we pretty much need big streamers to kind of move on to the Runeterra category in order to kind of generate interest. Even if they only show up for, if they bring 20,000 viewers into the category, a decent percentage of that player base might stay.
Well, that's how I got interested. This guy's toast. I was watching him play this because I at the time I was playing a lot of TFT, and I was watching him play TFT because he's a funny streamer, and at the time he was still on Twitch. And I watched him play LOR, and I was like, what the hell is this game? Then I looked at Scar. Then I looked at Swim, and I was like, well, this game's pretty interesting. I want to drop. And then I got one, and I love the game. It's super fun. It's just, they do have to pay some streamers, I think, to play the game. I still worry that they're going to make a mistake with this game like they did with Blizzard and Overwatch and other games coming out at the same time. I just worry about that, like with any developers, that they let their other games overshadow. Like, I really worry that Valorant, yes, I get it, it's an FPS, argue with people, they say, well, it's an FPS, this is a card game, those are two different things. Yeah, but it still does overshadow a new game that's coming out that might affect it.
Their own grave by doing it.
Yes. Brings down less hype.
Too much sense. Yeah.
So,
because people who aren't very good at FPS or aren't very good at card games are still going to prefer to try out that FPS.
Yeah.
Because it's a much faster paced game.
I will say on the flip side, I have seen a couple people, and again, not to talk too much about Valorant, but when I've been playing Valorant, and you know, I've kind of just mentioned LOR on the side, and that I've actually had a couple people that have said, oh yeah, you know, I've started to play that just because I saw it, you know, as another Riot game. So some people that actually came from like CS:GO and things like that for Valorant happened to notice, you know, Riot does other games. They knew obviously League of Legends, and some have actually given this a chance. So I get that, like, you know, hey, you're shooting yourself in the foot by releasing two at the same time, but I also wonder if
they are different worlds for
I'm sitting there
a
saying,
reason.
hey, look, let's bring two different worlds, bring them at the same time, and if we can get some sort of cross advertising going, you know, maybe we can get somebody to play all of our games. Like, we want you on the Riot shooter, we want you on the Riot MOBA, we want you on the Riot auto chess, we want you on the Riot card game. You know,
they have one change they need to do, which I've talked about it 1,000 times, and a lot of people mirror my sentiments. It's launcher. They have to do it, and they will. It's obvious that something's going to come in the future. I think I think someone even told me about that. They saw something about it somewhere about Riot releasing a launcher for all the games, because yeah, that's going to be huge. But I guess that's it for this.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add about the new cards? Anything like that?
No. I think we covered this all. I'm just excited to see what the region is and what it brings. You know, I keep hoping it's going to be a void, but I know
it's not.
Yeah,
it's not.
Everybody's fairly confident. It's Bilgewater, or whatever the heck that is.
Bilgewater, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
That would make a
people
lot of
data
sense.
mined and whatnot. I think it'll be a cool. I mean, pirates are interesting.
Thought Kench too.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I assume it's gonna kind of have a Shadow Isles style feel to it. Maybe a bit different.
Steal your money kind of feel. Maybe
something like that.
Nexus Health.
Stealing mana will have use in this game. But,
no.
Kind of cool to see what they have, because traditionally, like they've kind of done the main archetypes of like card games. Like, you know, Shadow Isles has the sacrifice your own units for a benefit. Then PNZ has the direct damage style stuff. Ionia has the kind of control tools / like flying mechanic, right? From Magic Gathering. You have Demacia, which is like the main mid-range deck, and then Noxus, which is the more like aggro-focused unit deck, or card pool. So it's going to be interesting what they do with new regions to kind of differentiate themselves from those archetypes, because it's hard to come up with something that's different than that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping Bilgewater will kind of make a name for itself and not just feel like SI Part 2 or something.
Yeah.
Which would be kind of a letdown. But we'll have to see what they do with it and kind of get an idea.
I mean, the only thing I would like to see is, like, if we're sitting here talking about pirates, and sure, maybe stealing mana, so that we can see in this game, but
they gotta steal something, dude.
I would love something for, like, a way to recruit other, like, units. Like take what your opponents put on board and bring them to your side. You know what I mean?
There's already a card like that. What's it called?
Possession in SI.
But I'm saying, like, as a general, like, just this is how this region plays, is like a capture feel. Like, you know, you got the Frostbite from Freljord, you've got you know, like I would love like that, like them to really dive into like the, hey, what you have becomes what I have.
Well, stay tuned. We'll find out in a couple days. Yeah. It's gonna happen. You know it's gonna happen, Smithel. They're not just gonna wait till release and then bam, you get to figure out what Bilgewater is. Like it's not gonna happen.
So it's interesting, but yeah, I'm definitely excited to see the region and everything that comes from it. even I think I'm less excited for the champions is just the other cards, because I mean, champions are champions. You're only going to get so many of them, and we all kind of know like who Misfortune is. We know what she does,
Right.
But I like to see how are
I
the
thought
other
she was
cards
just
going to play into her.
cosplayed though. Like I don't actually like is she actually a character in the game? I thought she was just an object that people decide to cosplay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it should be interesting. But anyway, since we're kind of starting to run long, we'll keep diving into it. So deck of the week, sunglasses. I know you said at the top of the show you brought
Right.
the deck that you and Koza were running to kind of give us a run
Yeah.
through.
We weren't actually running Radiant Guardian at the time, but yeah, we can talk about
Yeah,
that.
there's a few changes. This deck was originally playing some of the cards of Radiant Guardian. But I do like the Radiant Guardian in this deck.
Yeah, same.
Because you do make a lot of trades. But yeah, so essentially this deck, it's kind of what I would call a more interesting Bannerman. You play a lot of the similar cards like Fleet Feather Tracker, War Chefs, Bright Steel Protector, Laurent Protege. But as the game goes on, you have access to more options, better spells.
Mm-hmm.
And you have some interesting things. For you have the Greenglade Caretaker, one of the stronger 1-drops when paired with lots of barrier effects like Shen. You do focus a lot on unit combat, so Shen's barriers allow you to make good use of things like your Laurent Protege or your Fleet Feather Tracker. Single combat becomes a much more interesting card when you compare it with things like barrier. And so you have a lot of these similarities between Bannermen, but because of how many more options you have, they kind of compound on themselves and create a multitude of more things you can do. Like you can pair your spells with Lux, and then you can combo your barrier with single combat to take out units or
and just
things like
just
that.
to say, because I know Koza doesn't have the deck on.
Oh,
it is a Gen deck. Obviously, that we're talking about. If people
Okay.
kind of pick up on
I
that.
took it off on screen by accident. My bad.
Gotcha. But as you can see here, so I'll go over the deck in general. So the two champions you're playing are Shen and Lux. So it's an Ionia and Demacia deck. You have Fleet Feather Tracker and Greenglade Caretaker as 1-drops. War Chefs, Bright Steel Protector as 2-drops. Laurent Protege and Shadow Assassin as 3-drops. Radiant Guardian as a 5-drop. Bright Steel Formation as your biggest top end. And then you're playing some very interesting spells. You're playing the traditional 3 single combat and then 3 deny. But then you're also playing back-to-back and Stand United, which are 2 cards that I think are very interesting. Back-to-back is kind of not as good as it used to be before the nerf, of course. But it does have... It's a card that people don't expect, and when they don't play around it, it ends up being very, very strong. And Stand United is one of probably the funnest cards to play with, in my opinion. Just having that option in your hand to swap 2 allies and protect them both gives you neat circumstances where you can use this card defensively, you can use it offensively to sneak in damage. And there's lots of cool, interesting things you can do with it. And lots of, especially with Shen's level up, which you do actually see most times you drop a Shen, he ends up leveling up in this deck, thanks to Stand United.
Yep.
It allows you to do all this very interesting combat math. And overall, I think the deck plays a lot like Bannerman, like I've said already, but it just seems more interesting. So if you do enjoy the Bannerman playstyle, but you're kind of getting bored of it, or since Bannerman got nerfed, it's not as good anymore, and you want to try something that's very similar to it, but has more of an Ionia feel and kind of a different play style, I think this is a good deck to try out, especially since I think it's actually quite decent on ladder at the moment.
Especially versus Burn Elusive.
I think it has a decent matchup against elusives.
Just because of the polls.
Yeah. If you wanted to tech the deck more against that Burn Elusives lineup, you could cut a Lux and play a Fiora, and then maybe cut some of the back-to-backs for more defensive spells. You play like a couple Purify or something. Or play the Spirit's Refuge to add more lifesteal to the deck over cards like Deny and back-to-back. So you can definitely tech it to what meta you think you're going into. You have a lot of options and flexibility with this deck. It's not as set in stone. You can definitely interchange some cards, even champions, to make the deck more aggressive or more anti-control.
Yes, I played against a version of this, earlier today actually, or something similar. And
yeah, they had some changes to it with Fiora instead of Lux. I've seen it already on Twitter.
Yeah, it does feel bad to play against, for sure. I mean, when it starts popping off, there's really not a lot you feel like you can do against it.
Yeah. If your deck isn't like a hard control deck or like a faster deck, it's very hard to compete with this from a mid-range standpoint, just because barriers are so strong. Yeah, it's definitely a fun deck to play. Maybe not a fun deck to play against, but it's not a very popular deck on ladder, so you probably won't run into this matchup very often.
Awesome. Koz, any thoughts?
Well, I guess we should. The original maker of the deck was the guy. Well, I don't even remember his Twitter handle. All I know is he works, like, he's part of the Twin Suns podcast. It was originally called Oh Shucks, and then when Sunglasses got the list, he made some changes to it. So this is what the list is now. Yeah, I personally like this list a little bit more than the Mage Seeker. That's what the difference is. It had Mage Seeker and something else. What was it? Sunglasses?
Yeah. So it was playing the Mage Seeker package, which is like the 2-mana 3/2 that gets Challenger, the 4-mana 4/3 that gets +2/+2. And I think it might have been playing some other Mage Seeker cards. Overall, I thought that version of the deck was really terrible. Oh, it was also playing Remembrance. I felt like the deck wanted to play a more curve style line, right? You want to have board control leading up into the turns that you're dropping Shen and you're dropping Lux. You want to maintain that. You don't want to fall behind on board and be playing the catch-up game, because a lot of your spells that, in order to get value off of them, you need to have board control. Cards like Deny, Single Combat, Stand United, Back-to-Back, they're much better when you have a board that's developed. When you're denying something and you don't have units on board, you're sacrificing a lot of tempo. You'd rather be on board and then holding up that deny, rather than vice versa. Same with everything else.
And the one thing I noticed about this too that seems a little rare these days is actually seeing 3 denies in it. When I was playing against it, I was like, okay, he popped out 2, and I was like, okay, he's done, and surely there's not a 3rd deny, and of course there was, and it shocked me, because you don't see this too much anymore. So I mean, it's a good way to kind of at least keep people on their toes.
It slows down the tempo of the game by having denies. It really does. It can change. There's some decks that are all in that if they put this down, they basically have to surrender after. Depending on the level of play that you play against, some people will literally just surrender because they have no comeback mechanics. They're hoping. I watch Gummy stream all the time, and that guy knows he lost, he just quits the game. And it happens. He'll be like, if this guy has deny, we lose the game. And sure enough, they pop down a deny, and he loses the game. So, moves on. Yeah. I think that's it for that. Let's get into tournaments. Duels of Runeterra. Because we're not really calling it Monokuma anymore because of the Team Liquid sponsor. They did the rebrand. We'll start with EU first. Now, I watched a little bit of May Cactus actually play. I think it's a chick. I'm not sure 100% on that. I know that I watched Cassis stream it, cast the games, and that's how I saw the person. But they went off. Like, he followed them through the bracket quite a bit, and they did really well. First Pink Beaver is an EU streamer. He actually just joined the Discord this week.
Nice.
So basically, let's just go over the top 4. _ Sorry, EU, I really don't know you guys. I'm not part of your community enough. He got 4th. First Pink Beaver got fourth. Pearson got second, and May Cactus got first. And it seems like it was a pretty easy run for May Cactus dropping. No, they dropped at least one. Okay, no, it wasn't that easy. I thought those were a lot of 2-0s, but apparently I was looking at the wrong part of the board. So,
yeah, I don't really have too much to say about the Duels of Runeterra tournament. There weren't that many interesting lineups that I saw.
Or decks or anything. Yeah, I thought it was pretty vanilla this
pretty
week.
Standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, like in terms of tournaments, I don't have all that much to say about. About the tournament for the most part. It's interesting. It's cool, but overall, yeah, I don't really have any like opinions on it. For the most part.
Yeah, no, that's fine. The NA tournament, I know a lot more of these guys because they're in the Masters Discord and they're talking quite a bit. So, I think it was Winding God. We've just been calling him God. He got a first place finish. He finished, I think it was second last week. He's been really, really good in NA. Rice FT had a pretty good run. Cephalopod, which is actually one of Sunglass's buddies there. He used to be called a Fly Power of Evil. So you might recognize him for his matches in League of Legends that he would somehow play at the same time of being in LOR tournaments. He's a very, very good player. We don't know how he did it. He's probably hacking, as Sunglasses complains about on his stream a lot, that everyone's hacking. But anyways, he rebranded his name, and this is Cephalopod now. So I think I'm saying his name right. Yeah, am I even saying it right? Is that how you say it? Okay. So just call him Ceph.
Yeah. I lost. We had a pretty fun match.
You lost to him, didn't you?
Yeah. It was fairly close. But they were fun games. It's always fun to play against friends. Yeah, I wasn't taking that tournament very seriously. I brought some joke decks and almost making it into the final bracket. Playing kind of meme decks was pretty fun.
Gotta have fun sometimes, man.
Yeah. I pretty much don't really take the tournaments all that seriously unless the prize pool is very big or the competitive decks are fun to play with.
Yeah, right now the meta's a little stale. Maybe that's going to change in a couple of weeks.
That's the hope, right?
Yeah.
The interesting thing about Runeterra is that the meta has generally shifted quite a bit throughout the entire first set. I wasn't here since the beginning, but the meta was consistently shifting. Even between balance changes, metas would crop up and different decks would be discovered. And so introducing all these new cards, I think we're probably going to see something similar where it takes a lot longer than, like, say, a game like Hearthstone to solve the meta. Whereas in Hearthstone, you'd see the meta solved within a couple days.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous. You would have that idea. It's like, oh, what's good be good? I'll try out cool decks. And then 2 days later, everyone's already playing the 70% win rate meta deck. That's clearly the best deck in the format. I don't think that's the same for Runeterra.
I don't think it's ever going to be like that, though. Do you really think it will? Because, if you look at the starting of the beta, look at everything that came from closed beta to open beta. Everyone's like, oh my god, this deck's going to wreck on day one. You have to have all these cards. And then open beta came out, and I thought Fiora Shen was broken from what it was explained in closed beta. It wasn't. Neither was Yasuo. Yasuo was shit. There was a lot of decks that I thought were in the top tier of the echelon and this was even before nerfs. They made a couple of nerfs from closed beta to open beta, but the meta shifted on a bi-weekly kind of change, and then when the patches would come in, it would change even more until it got to a certain point. I think it was after the Hecarim patch. Things got really kind of set in stone. You'd see a deck emerge once 1 week, and then another week there would be a deck emerging. But before that, we were having 2 or 3 decks emerging every like 2 or 3 days. That it's going to go back to that. 100% it will go back to that with the new release. I just worry about, okay, well, once set 2 is out, is it going to get stale again before they realize, okay, we need to add new cards into the game, or losing people? Because I know a lot of people that have been kind of chilling this week, just waiting for Tuesday. So it's bad. It's not a good thing. It just shows that their amount of people that are playing their game might be kind of low right now, and it's not accurate because a lot of these players will come back. So I don't know. It's just I hope it changes.
We're in a lull for as far as Runeterra goes. This is the point where the game seems the least fun, in general, for most people. Unless your deck happens to be the meta deck right now, and you just love it so much, then you're probably having fun still. But even then, it gets boring playing against the mirror too much, or things like that.
Yeah.
I definitely think that. I mean, it's always possible that a deck becomes busted enough that until we see a balance patch, it just dominates the meta and ruins any kind of theory crafting. But yeah, I think people are starting to get a little bit better at evaluating cards. I still see a lot of really terrible hot takes, mostly from Hearthstone players. No offense to them as people, but Hearthstone definitely has a much simpler take to cards. And so a lot of people coming from that game don't think of cards in the same way that someone like a Magic the Gathering or a Yu-Gi-Oh player might. And so... yeah, explain from like a perspective before the open beta when people saw Fiora and Shen. It's like, oh, I just attack and I give this barrier every turn and I kill it. But, they're not thinking that people can actually play cards during that attack, and stuff like that. It's a lot easier to deal with that when you're thinking about it from a Runeterra's perspective than like a Hearthstone perspective. And so now that people have kind of experienced the game and gotten their hands on it, I think their evaluation of like new cards is going to be a lot better than it was like before the open beta. As well as like, I think the meta will still get solved faster and faster as people get better and better at understanding what makes a card good and what makes a card bad. So I don't think it'll be like this forever. I think it'll definitely get to a point where cards are released and the meta is solved within a couple weeks. I don't think will happen for quite a long time.
And I hope so. And honestly, when meta's always solved right away, like League of Legends gets kind of boring because of that and a lot of other MOBAs. So I do like the meta to be open. So to go back into the tournament talk, some of the people that I was kind of a little surprised they got knocked out in the first round of the top 32 was BBG and Prismat. They've been kind of the top right now in the tournament scene. Even Croc got knocked out, the homie. Crazy. I don't know if it's because... I don't know what decks they were bringing. They might have brought some... Maybe they were trolling a little bit like Sunglasses, brought some funny meme decks, but I would actually be surprised with BBG doing stuff like that. He kind of takes this game pretty seriously, and then when you watch his stream, he's always playing very... he's trying to shape his own meta to get a higher rank. Well, he's currently rank 1 in NA, and I think he's been holding that spot for over a week. I don't know. The Mobalytics is broken right now. Mobalytics is literally broken. So even if someone else dethroned him... Okay.
In regards to that. So I think it's kind of... Actually, one of the things I've disliked about what they've recently done is changed their day 2 policy to single elimination over double elimination. Which I'm going to essentially explain the benefits and like negatives to playing like single elimination, double elimination in Swiss. And the way they kind of have it set up is a little hypocritical because the reason you would play Swiss is because you want people who are consistently good at the game to consistently be your best players, right? So the way that Swiss helps that is by allowing people to still make it, even with 1 or 2 losses, because this mitigates the luck factor, right? Like a good player is still going to lose games, but even the best player is still going to lose games to luck, and but they're going to still have the best average, right? And so people like BBG and Prismat and Croc and such, they're always making it to day twos. Yeah, I consistently the last Monokuma was the only Monokuma I played in where I didn't day two. And
This is true. I do remember seeing
yeah.
your name almost every week.
Yeah, and so essentially the whole reason you play Swiss is for that, right? So that the consistently good players consistently make it to the next day and they don't get immediately knocked out in the first round, right? Like if you ran single elimination for the first part instead of Swiss, then you'd have people like BBG and Prismat rarely making top 8 and just random people making it through like getting lucky, right?
Be a little
so yeah.
Papega.
But then when you go to day 2 and you say, well, screw that logic, we're just going to make it single elimination anyway, instead of double elimination, then you kind of threw that whole logic into the trash. And now you have people like BBG and Prismat who should be consistently making top 4 or top 8, getting knocked out in like the first couple rounds just because of they have to lose games eventually, right?
Yeah, bad draw, something like that. Well, let's look at Dex Sensei. I can actually talk a little bit about this. Dex Sensei is a perfect example. He went 8-0, I think, day 1, or 7-0, or 7-1, and he's getting knocked out first round. There was another, I think, last Monokuma. It was the exact, not Monokuma, Duels of Runeterra.
Yeah.
The last Duels of Runeterra was literally the exact same thing. The player the day before went 6-0 and got knocked out. And it's like, dude, that can't be happening. Double elim, like, even if they bring this down to top 16 and get rid of the other people, they need to do something, because they need to make it so that some of these players that shouldn't be getting knocked out, because you can't just tell card game players with RNG to just get better, just get good, just draw the cards that you want to draw, make 2 lefts and a right, and you'll be okay. And that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. They will have to change the format at some point, and I'm hoping Team Liquid might voice, or they'll listen to some. I know some people have complained about this. Double elim on
that might solve some of those issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, so essentially, I think it's kind of an issue where someone who goes 8-0 day 1 can lose to someone who went 5-3 day 1.
Yeah.
And just because of bad RNG, right? Even though that 8-0 player is far better than the 5-3 player, they just got unlucky in one match. And I think double elimination definitely has the bracket feel that people like for top 8s and top 16s, top 32s, but allows for that second chance that I think is required in a card game. I think it's kind of necessary.
Well, let's stick on path. We still got a couple of tournaments to talk about. I'm gonna probably have to cut some of them a little short. Next one was Mavericks tournament. Basically, there's a Reddit post. I'm gonna put it in. These are some of the decks that were ran. Who won that one? It was Dark Sensei. Don't actually know that person. And Arc Arax. Well, I think he's actually one of Sunglasses' ears.
Arax is also a fellow streamer. He's a cool dude.
Okay.
Spanish, I believe, or maybe Portuguese. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
But so he's they're both good players. I was not a fan of the Maverick tournament format they were using. It ended up becoming there was a lot of confusion. They changed the rules last minute, and it's just kind of awkward. I'm just I talked to Maverick a lot. Personally, I didn't enjoy it that much. Also, from a qualifier standpoint, I'll quote another streamer on this, though I won't mention his name. Which was, I was like, "Hey, are you playing in this tournament?" And he was like, "Why should I play in it? It's it's only got 20 people, and I can just enter the $500 tournament by paying $5. Right?
Yeah, by subbing. So the qualifiers are basically just for people that want tournament practice during the week, because most of these events are held during the week. I don't know. I had a big thing written up, but honestly, I can't go through it all. Mavericks been talking about it quite a bit. It's in the Masters Discord. You'll actually find out changes that are coming to the Masters Discord right as I get down the list a little bit more, and you'll be able to see Maverick. Maverick posts about his tournaments all the time in there, so don't worry. Just join his Discord if you're interested, and you can join the Maverick tournaments if you want to do the qualifiers. Eventually, there will be the $500 tournament with top place getting $300. That's like the only thing I remember from the list. So moving on to the next one. Sasuke's Sunday Showdown. This is a homie. He always hosts his little tournaments. Call them little just because there's not that many people in it. I wouldn't really call them like super little. Some people enjoy them, some people don't.
Yeah.
He runs them a little differently than other people. It's again the banning champs and picking champs. As it gets more and more into the future, I don't see this working as a format anymore because there's going to be too many champions that might be overpowered and they're going to make it through, and it's basically going to just become a weird version of League. I don't know. It's Cephalopod won. Homie got first in this. I know that Night got knocked out in the first round. I haven't actually seen Night too much lately.
From what I know, he hasn't been streaming for the past couple weeks. It's unfortunate. He's a cool guy, good streamer.
Yeah. I know he's dealing with personal family stuff right now, so he has been tweeting about it. He's got to focus on paying the bills over streaming right now. So
right.
He'll be back soon. Earl just came back this week, so I'm happy about that. Some more streamers, some more aggro guys if you want to see him. He's actually, I don't remember the exact date, but he will be coming on the show at some point. And I guess we should probably mention, because I don't want to forget, our next guest will be BBG, but it's going to be a little bit weird of a show because we're going to be recording it on Sunday. So I'm hoping that Bilgewater releases some cards and we can talk about some of that, because all the cards basically got released now. But BBG is going to be on Sunday, and then we're going to rebroadcast it on Thursday and just answer chat and basically chill around. So I'm hoping it's not going to be too small of an episode. If it is, I might just get someone else on Thursday and get BBG to come on another episode, because BBG has been doing a lot in this community right now. He's been playing a lot, and he's a really good player, and I want to have an exciting episode for him to be on. I don't want him to just not be a fun episode for him, because there's not really much to talk about. It's like 30-minute episode, and then the podcast is over. It's just kind of pointless. It's a waste of his time. So we'll see what happens, and we'll go from there. That's it for basically the podcast list of how we're bringing people on. I guess the next thing I should go into is the Masters Discord is changing. Some of you guys are gonna care. Some of you guys won't. Some of you guys are already from the Masters Discord that are in here. I've become head admin, so basically I'll be making all major decisions on changes to the Discord. One major decision that we have changed is that we will be allowing everyone to read certain specific channels in the Discord. There will still be channels that people will not be able to read, and they'll be able to add emotes as well, reactions to posts, and well, as long as they're not abused, you'll still be able to react to posts. If you abuse them, well, the read-only people will no longer be allowed to emote. The Masters Discord is also changing to, once you get your membership, you're in. You're in for life.
That's a good, I think lots of benefits and positives to that. Originally, the way Gummy wanted it run was you would have to reapply to the Discord.
It was a lot of work.
There's some issues with that, not only on mod side, but say I take a break from the game, I go off and play Valorant or something for 2 months. I come back and I'm not allowed to talk to my friends until I go and hit Masters, which maybe I don't have the time right then and there, and I gotta spend a week to go do it. There's definitely some issues with that, especially since lots of other people might, as the game progresses for years, you want this community to be a consistent community.
An actual community, yeah.
Yeah, an actual community. And so in order for that to happen, you kind of need people who've gotten into it to stay in it. You don't want that cycle that people have to feel like it's a chore to apply. And I also think it's good for people who aren't masters to kind of have this Discord waiting there. You know, they see it in Swim's,
Yep.
exclamation point Masters Discord. They go to it and they can see, oh, I can see all these channels, and whoa, look at all these. Whoa, there's my favorite streamer, and he's talking, and here's all these cool players that I saw playing a tournament, right? And they're all hanging out and playing games and discussing stuff.
Scribble,
And if they want to be a part of that, they can strive for it. But it's kind of hard to have that goal to join this community if they can't see what it's like. It's kind of a closed off group, where now they kind of have a window to look through and see what it's like, as well as then the Masters Discord is something there for them to still see, right? If they just join the Masters Discord and see oh, I can't be in this till I'm Masters, I'll just join this server later, and then they leave, and it's kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
They don't come back, and you never want that. You want people to just have this over there in the back of their head, on their Discord. Oh, maybe I'll go see what the Masters are talking about.
Yeah.
You want people who even aren't a part of Masters to have that access. I think it's a positive thing.
Yeah, it's huge changes. Like, even Smith will be able to come in there as a plat pleb and read all the chats, and
the more places I can watch people talk shit on Yukos, the happier I am.
It's actually me being pretty toxic a lot of the time in general chat.
Yep.
So basically, we're also allowing self-promotion, and we're allowing more people to promote the Discord because of the changes. Like, anyone that wants to rock it in their Twitch as a command or something, Masters Discord, go ahead. The Discord name is going to be changed from the LOR's top 0.1%. We're deciding basically on Sunday. I don't know the exact name yet. Some people are leaning towards Masters of Runeterra. We just want a little bit more of a friendly name where it's minorly elitist, but we don't want it to be the other name was a meme name. We really didn't expect the Discord to get that big, and it did. So Swim's link is now changed, and a couple of people are going to be adding their links, and you're going to just come in, you're going to read the rules, and then after you check something off, you're going to be able to read the whole Discord. And then if you are a Masters players, then you go into Proof of Masters, show me your proof. We're actually working on a bot right now that's going to use the LOR API to pull you off the leaderboards. But currently the API is broken, and that's a lot of the reason why Mobalytics is not working. So if you have hit Masters in the last couple days, still come to the Discord. Me and my mod friend Win Major are going to be allowing you guys to join, and just basically going through you guys one at a time just to make sure you guys are Masters. But what we get out of this is Masters Discord, less exclusive, more open to everyone, and it's going to be a good time. And Tuesday is going to be really exciting because there's going to be a lot of influx of new players with the game release, and especially Thursday with the mobile release. So that's why we wanted to make the change to the Discord before the game actually went live and got fully released.
Yeah. I think those are all positive changes for everyone involved. 100%. Yeah.
So I guess because Sunglasses is really weird and doesn't really have social media, We'll stay off your Twitch, and then I'll explain how they find out when you're live, because it's cool.
Yeah, so, twitch.tv/sunglessestwitch. As well as, I suppose we could have my Discord linked in the...
It will be there.
We'll link that for you.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Twitter. Mostly just a Discord man. But yeah, usually I'm a lot less serious on my Twitch. Usually you'll find a lot less G-rated discussion going on there, as well as some shit talking. I'm not a very nice person most of the time. Usually we're trying to bully some people on ladder or something along the lines of it. But yeah, thanks for having me on and everything, guys. It's been
we appreciate it.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate you stopping by. And like I said, I mean, it's interesting to always see other people that can deal with Kozer and long stretches of time. But no, it's awesome that you helped coach him get him up there. I mean, I know that was a big goal of the show was to get
it was fun.
Kozer to Masters.
I guess I should note, personally, I think coaching in Runeterra isn't something that's worth money. I think kind of the information that anyone can give you isn't worth some kind of like dollar amount per hour. So kind of the way that I do coaching is it's a channel points reward as in Twitch. So if you do stop by if you want to be coached like Kozer, get to Masters, or even if you're in gold or iron, or whatever rank you're in.
Iron, hard stuck in iron. Yikes.
If you want to just learn more about the game and get some more experience, I offer is channel points reward. So all you have to do is watch my stream. Even if you just want to AFK it or whatever, you can stop by, maybe learn just from watching the stream, and maybe get some coaching if that's what you want to do.
What times do you normally stream? You should probably mention that.
I usually stream from 6 p.m. PST, so Pacific Standard Time, onwards to usually like 10, 11, or 12, around that sort of time. Depends on how much fun I'm having. Depends on, like what we're doing. Definitely the streams are probably going to go later with the expansion because there's a lot more interesting decks to play.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for the most part, yeah, that's me. That's my schedule.
Awesome.
Yeah, Sefa, you did kind of miss the whole podcast. Sorry, buddy. You'll have to rewatch it. A little late to the show, bud. Well, I guess we'll go through my platforms at Kozer88, twitch.tv Kozer_88, and YT Kozer88 for YouTube.
Awesome. And then, as always, guys, you can catch me on Twitter at Smithel Gaming, or on Twitch at twitch.tv/Smithel. Obviously, if you guys are listening to the show, you can get us on Spotify and basically all the major podcast networks or hosting services, YouTube. You can find us there if you just search for Weekly Poro Report. Twitter is at Poro Weekly. And if you're here at Twitch, you know where we're at. But if you are listening to this or watching us on YouTube, you can go to twitch.tv/Weekly Poro Report and watch the show live every week, typically Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. If there's any kind of change or anything like that, similar to what we're going to be doing coming up here next week, we will obviously post that on Twitter and as many places as possible. Also, we do have a Discord that we are slowly building out with folks. If you'd like to go ahead and join that, it's probably the best way to get a hold of Kozer or myself and, bring any kind of questions that you'd like to see us discuss on the show, or, just come hang out and, we can talk about your decks or talk about what's going on in game. But other than that, again, Sunglasses, thanks for coming on the show, buddy.
As always, yeah, it was a pleasure.
It was good having you here, and I'm excited to kind of see what you come up with whenever the full game comes out.
Yeah. Same.
Let me see the new region. And you obviously got to update your tier list for more waifus.
There'll be plenty of babes to review once the
big time.
People talk about what might see play, but what might see Rule 34 art is clearly more important.
Oh God. Oh man, that's a whole nother.
All right, well, let's end on that note. Have a good night, everyone. Bye bye.
Thanks for watching the stream, guys. Take care.